Peter Buswell for drvoip.com. If there's anything we can do to help you design, deploy, modify, or support your Amazon Connect instance, we deploy virtually, we deploy globally. We have the highest customer satisfaction scores and references. We deliver on time and on budget. So give us a call. We're going to talk about hacking voicemail for Amazon Connect, a great new feature. Get out there on your GitHub and get the CloudFormation template, which I'm going to walk you through, along with some hacks that enable you to do some really interesting things with the voicemail application. The feature set for the voicemail is pretty exciting. Basically, you're going to give your users an extension number. People can dial this extension number. They can reach an individual user. If that user is not available, it will take a voicemail message. The voicemail message can be delivered as an email, a WAV file in an email. It can be encrypted. You can have it sent as a text message. You can have it transcribed, and there's a administration portal that is part of the deployment. Now, we've done some really interesting modifications to this application. First of all, the DID dialing means that you've got to do some work on your contact flow to prompt a caller to enter an extension number. Some of the sample templates provided enable you to copy those, but I think you're going to find that you're going to want to do other things. For example, we've added Lex so that you can have it dialed by name. If you use an extension number, that means people have to know it, or you have to create a directory system. Why not just speech enable your instance? Thanks for calling. If you know your party's name, speak it, or say a function like sales. We've created a Lambda function to convert a spoken name in Lex to an extension number, and the rest of the application remains unchanged. You can also create voicemail messages for your various customer service queues. So you would do this by adding a queue as a user, and in this way it integrates with the rest of the application, and you now can have after hours have a message taken for a queue that's closed, and you can deliver that message in email. There are some applications that enable you to distribute that email to another agent when they log in. There's a lot you can do there. You can add it to a contact queue hold flow, so that while someone's waiting to connect with the next available agent, they have the option to dial 1 to get a call back without losing your place in queue, or 2 to leave a voice message. It's limited only by your imagination. We've created post-call surveys, and instead of using the typical question and answer, press 1 through 5 to rate the agent, that kind of a thing. Why not why not record the comments, and then you can have them transcribed, or you can run them through Lens and really do good customer survey evaluations that way. So there's a lot you can do with this application. The application itself is going to use a number of different services that are going to cost you a few pennies extra. I think the current estimate is a voicemail message might cost you about cents a message, depending on if you're using transcription or sending it as a text message, etc. But the different things that the different services you're going to use include Cognito. Remember, Cognito is kind of a regional thing, so when you deploy the template, make sure you know where your instance is and what region, and the rest of the services should follow suit. So Cognito is actually going to be the resource that sends the voicemail as a WAV file to your users. So the email address needs to be verified. I will point out it's case sensitive, so when you're setting it up and you put in your email address, make sure you understand that it's case sensitive. So if you later go to log in and it's not working, probably a good bet that you're using the wrong case. Cognito is also the sending account. So though SES is a simple email service, in this application it's Cognito that sends the message. And actually the users don't have to be verified in SES. I would recommend that you do that because there's a soft limit on SES that you can remove simply by verifying your users, sending them a verification email. The only real user in the application that needs to be verified is the email that is sending from Cognito the various messages, email messages out to your users. There's going to be Lambda functions employed. There's an agent database. Every agent in the system has a unique ID, or ARN if you prefer, and that's how we identify whether an agent is available, and also how we directly transfer to an agent. So there's a Lambda function for some of the delivery options, and Lambda functions for finding the agent by extension. You need to remember to add that Lambda function in contact flows in your Connect instance. There are DynamoDB tables that contain the agent database as well as the delivery options, transcriptions. The connectivity is set up. It's optional. I'll show you where you set the setting for that. There's obviously an API gateway established because we spin up an S3 bucket that's going to host a static website for your admin interface. There's a bucket also for your recordings, and to reach the admin interface, you're going to be using the API gateway. There are some things that you want to make note of. There's a Kinesis stream that has to be configured in your Amazon Connect instance to take advantage of the voicemail functionality. When you're troubleshooting, why aren't things working? You'll probably find that you don't have the Kinesis stream properly configured. It may be such that you already have a Kinesis stream. I'll show you how to change that in the Lambda function that's relative to the process that relies on this Kinesis stream. And I'll show you where to make that change. While you're troubleshooting, you're going to look at your Kinesis streams. You're going to check the data storage options. You're going to verify that you are in fact recording. I mean, step one, go to the S3 bucket and see if the recording is there. If it's not there, we're going to have to go figure out why. And was the email verified? And I'll walk you through that process as well. So let's go ahead and log in and take a look at some of these configuration options. So again, the CloudFormation stack is regional, so make sure you're installing in the region with your Amazon Connect instance. You're going to fill out information. You're going to give it a stack name. You're going to add in your instance. And I assume everybody knows how to get their instance ID. It's in the management console before you enter the instance itself. And it's this last group of characters here after the slash. Okay. It's this whole string here. Drop that in there. You're going to put in a administrator email. A name, last name. You're going to put in a manager's email and the manager's last name, and you're going to put in the email that you want. The from field, when an email is delivered to a user, what should that be? Typically, you'll use the manager or the admin's email, but you can put whatever you like in there just as long as you get it verified. Easy mistake to make here: allowable SMS countries. The template defaults to US and Canada. And give yourself something here for the user pool. Lowercase characters, please. And as you go through this, you'll have to give it a stack name. I've already done that. I've run the stack. The stack actually produces some nested stacks. So there's a main stack and about 3 nested stacks. If you follow the CloudFormation, you fill it out correctly, you should run it with 0 problems. If you've got a problem, guaranteed you configured something in the template wrong. Common errors are putting in the entire ARN rather than the last 32 or so characters of that ARN. Just filling out the template the wrong way is going to cause you a problem. If you do it correctly, you should have a fully functioning, completed stack. And if you drill down on these stacks, you want to go to the one here that's the voicemail stack. Each creates a separate, different set of functions, but you're going to want to go here to outputs. And the reason you'll look at outputs is it will confirm the location of the admin portal. So it's going to say distribution domain name. If you click on that, it should bring up the interface to the voicemail admin portal. When you bring this up, here's what's going to happen. It's going to draw heavily from your user database inside your instance. So it goes to user management and it reads these. So if you look at a particular user, you'll find that unless you're using single sign-on, it works a little different. But basically, you set up a user with a first name, a last name, a login name, and an email address. And this is the email address that the application is going to use to deliver a voice message to this particular user. If you're using a single sign-on, it's going to be the login name, and hopefully your users are logging in with an email address because that's what the application will use. There are ways to modify the Lambda functions to deal with getting the email address from other locations, but in the standard deployment, it's going to take this email address. In the single sign-on, it's going to use the login name. So once that's done, you're going to find, let's go over to Cognito. Inside Cognito, you're going to find your users, and you need to, when the application is created, it sends you a temporary password to the administrator and the manager of the account. They need to then log in to the admin portal. And once they log into the admin portal, they'll be able to configure the user options. So in the admin portal, again, a static website running in an S3 bucket that was created by the CloudFormation template. If you go up here, you're going to want to make note of if you enforce voicemail encryption, then you're not going to get a WAV file. You're going to get a link to the encrypted message. So you make a decision about how useful that is. I choose not to enforce encryption. I want a WAV file sent to the user. The delivery email address, you can still change it here if you want it to come from someplace else. This is also where you're going to go and download some sample contact flows that the application expects to be in place. You can modify them to achieve some additional features we've talked about. So that's what's required there. When you first get it, it's going to be blank. You're going to hit sync agents. And this is one of the Lambda functions. It's going to go out there. It's going to pull information from the user section of your instance. And you're going to then click on a user and add the extension number. So in this case, this individual has an email address. These are defined in the instance itself, and then you select whether you want it transcribed or whether you want it encrypted, and you give it an extension number up to 5 digits. These are fake extension numbers. They don't mean anything outside of the application. So think about it. 3 digits, 4 digits, 5 digits. Go ahead and put that in. There's a modification that if you want to, if you have DID numbers in your instance, you can pluck the DID numbers and use that as the extension number. But generally, you're going to go in here and add a fake extension number to your user, and you're going to set the delivery option. Do I want to send email? If I select I also want to send SMS, then I have to put in a phone number in the E164 format, right? So in this case, we're just going to send a WAV file. So this is where you're going to administer that information. Don't forget to sync your agents, refresh, check things, make sure everything got saved accordingly. If we look at some of the Lambda functions, there's one function, since I gave it a name that included voicemail, I can locate my functions. Let's go back here and type voicemail, and you'll see the functions that were created. There's this many, right? The one that's of interest in terms of look for the one that says KVS process. This is where you're going to go if you're going to change the kinesis stream. So how you're going to do that is you're going to find the section that has the execution role, the role that was created. By the way, when you ran the template, you could have assigned a role. If you run the CloudFormation template and do not specify a role, the application will create a role, and anybody else is going to have to at least have those capabilities to modify it. But what we're going to do here is look at the execution role, the IAM role that was assigned to let the CloudFormation template do its things. We're going to click on that, and it's going to bring up policies, and you're going to go to the policy, and the policy, you're going to edit the JSON. Now, why are we doing this? You may already have a Kinesis stream set up. In fact, guaranteed, if you're doing recordings, you already have it. So you're going to come in here and you're going to edit the permission role here and find the Kinesis stream. Here's the Kinesis stream, and you're going to replace this between the quotations and put in the ARN of your existing Kinesis stream. Once that's done, you'll go back out to your function and add the trigger, right? Okay, so the goal here is to use a Kinesis stream that was already established. If we look at the DynamoDB tables, you're going to find, again, if you search for the name, if you have many, you'll see at least 3. The one that's of interest to you is the one that contains the agent ID. So every resource in your Amazon Connect instance has an ARN, whether it's a queue or a prompt, a call flow. Everything has a resource, an ARN. In this case, it's referred to as an agent ID. This is how we locate the agent. And if you scroll through here, you'll see that it has the options for the delivery and whether it's going to be transcribed, etc., what the username is. As I said before, that's useful if you're using single sign-on. Go ahead and explore these other DynamoDB tables. This is the one that deals with delivery, SMS, etc. So there's quite a bit here, but the application is truly exciting. And then you can go ahead and start doing some interesting things. For example, we created a contact flow that modifies the original samples that were provided because we want to use Lex. So in our call flow, we set up a Lex bot, and we're interested here in letting people speak the name, right? If you're going to use extension numbers, you still have to create an interface in your contact flow that prompts the caller to enter an extension number. And that means they either need to know the extension number or you have to publish a directory. And this is the 21st century. Let's not go that route. Thanks for calling. I can route your call if you can speak the name of a representative or say a function like sales. Great. So Lex goes off and does its thing. It passes back from a Lex slot. We're getting get name. We take the get name and we wrote another Lambda function that is now going to go out to a DynamoDB database. It's going to look up by name and return the extension number. And then once we return the extension number and set the contact attribute, we can then feed it back into the rest of the contact flow, the second Lambda function that's going to go out there and see if the user is available. We've also modified some of these contact flows so that you can have the voicemail piece inside of one of your hold flows. If you've worked with the product for any period of time, you've come to learn that in a hold flow, or a customer queue flow, you cannot do a transfer to flow. The best you can do if you want to get out of there is to transfer to a telephone number. That'll work. But we've modified the contact flows such that we can set the extension number and put in the functionality to run the get agent ID. And if you're following along, you notice that in the user management section, we created users for our different queues. So if we have a queue called customer service, we added that as a user, gave it an extension number, and now we're able to take voice messages for our customer service queues. So that's an interesting option. We've also been able to create post-call surveys that pretty much do the same thing. We create a user call survey, gave it an extension number, and there are a number of strategies for getting the caller to the survey. But at the end of the day, the survey itself can record the customer's comments. And if you want to go through the questions, you can prompt the caller, record it, prompt the caller, record it. I find it more effective to let the caller speak freely in a stream of conscious mode, you'll get much more information about the quality of that customer's experience in your call center, because we now have the ability to hear speech nuances that would otherwise be hidden from us if we were to. So what we've done here is to just modify those contact flows, and we just created this simple survey built on the sample profiles. And as you can see here, we prompt them to put in their comments. We go ahead and record them, and it's a simple start media, get customer input, stop media, and you can actually loop through this, or create a contact flow with multiple instances of this in the same contact flow. So all of the ID, contact, the trace records all point to the same recording. And since you have the option to transcribe it, you now have a searchable document. And if you set analytics on your recording behavior, you can now run this through Lens. So the voicemail application, as provided, is an exciting option in and of its own right. They really did a great job with it. At the end of the day, however, you can hack it and do some really interesting features and applications using that same set of Lambda functions and DynamoDB tables. So I hope you have found this of interest, if not informative. Please hit drvoip.com website. If there's some way that we can help you, we're eager to do so. Thanks a lot.